Several false ideas about Neanderthals are spread by many people. One of them is that they were stupid and rude, which is not true. Because this false idea has been around for so long, we now use the word Neanderthal to refer to someone who is not educated or smart. It was almost given the name Homo stupidus, which means the stupid man. We now know that Neanderthals were just as smart as people. That's not the only interesting thing we know about the Neanderthals, though. We'll cover about the cool things we found. They walked upright. Neanderthals have frequently been portrayed as slouched animals with stooped backs, almost as if they were some other type of big ape. This portrayal has been prevalent throughout history. This portrayal is not accurate. Neanderthals walked upright and may have had a posture that was superior to that of modern humans. Marceline Boole, who believed that Neanderthals were the missing link between humans and other great apes, was the one who first began the myth of the slumped Neanderthal. Following the creation of a computer model of a Neanderthal skeleton, researchers came to the conclusion that Neanderthals walked in an upright position. They made the observation that the lower spine and the neck were curved. In both cases, an upright posture is indicated. It was initially believed that Neanderthals walked with a hunch, but it was later discovered that their necks and spines were not always straight. The researchers also noticed that the wear marks on the hips of the skeleton showed that the individual had an upright posture. The position of the sacrum, which is the bone that is located in between the hip bones, was exactly the same as it is with Homo sapiens. In order for this to have been possible, they needed to have maintained an upright posture. Non-Africans have Neanderthal genes. About 70,000 years ago, early Homo humans left Africa. The Neanderthals and the Denisovans were two other species of humans that lived on Earth at the same time as Homo sapiens. Homo humans moved toward Eurasia, where they met Neanderthals and had babies with them. Asians and Europeans today have some Neanderthal genes in them because they are descended from these Homo sapiens. Researchers have found that about 2% of the DNA of the average Asian or European person comes from the Neanderthals. Black people in sub-Saharan Africa don't have much or any Neanderthal DNA because their relatives never left Africa and didn't breed with Neanderthals. Because they were all connected, Homo sapiens bred with Neanderthals and Denisovans. Homo heidelbergensis was the ancestor of all three groups. Between 500,000 and 600,000 years ago, a group of Homo heidelbergensis left Africa. On the way, they split up. The Neanderthals were from a group that went to Western Asia and Europe. The other group went to East Asia and changed their name to the Denisophavi. The Homo heidelbergensis that stayed in Africa changed over time to become Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens may have eaten Neanderthals. Early Homo sapiens may have liked Neanderthal meat, if the theory put forward by Policarp Hortola and Bienvenido Martinez Navarro is correct. The anthropologists think that Neanderthals were eaten by humans as they moved from Africa to Europe. The same things are said by Fernando Rozzi, a researcher at the Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique in Paris. After looking at a Neanderthal jawbone, he came to this opinion. He and his team found that the cuts in the bone were made by people. As if that wasn't enough, early people may have also made bracelets out of Neanderthal teeth. But some experts don't agree with the idea that Homo sapiens hunted and ate Neanderthals. People from the Stone Age might have taken the jawbone from a Neanderthal that was already dead. The claims would back the idea that people hunted the Neanderthals to extinction if they were true. Some experts think this because the last Neanderthals died out around the same time that the first humans came to Europe. They painted. Artists were among the Neanderthals. The cave painting that they created is the oldest of its kind in the entire world. A red pigment was employed by some Neanderthals approximately 65,000 years ago to etch something that looks like a ladder onto the walls of a cave in Spain. Two further paintings created by Neanderthals have been discovered by researchers in two additional caves located in Spain. Because Homo sapiens had not yet arrived in Europe at the time, it was obvious that all three of these pieces of art were the product of the handiwork of a Neanderthal. The artworks provide evidence that Neanderthals possessed cognitive capacities that were comparable to those of humans. They were almost called Homo stupidus. In 1856, the first fossil of a Neanderthal, an early person, was found in the Neanderthal, also called the Neander Valley, in Germany. Neanderthal was named for Joachim Neumann, a German minister from the 1600s who often went for walks in the valley. Neumann also wrote songs, which he put out under the name Neander, which is the Greek word for Neumann and means new man. Soon, people mixed up Neander and Thal, which is how the name Neanderthal came to be. The H was taken out of Thal in 1904 because German doesn't have a th sound, but in some languages, the th stayed, giving the name a different form. Homo neanderthalensis was the name William King offered for the new species of human in 1864. It was named after the Neander Valley, where the fossil was found. After 2 years, Ernst Haeckel suggested that we call this new type of human Homo stupidus, which means the stupid man. The Neanderthals were lucky that King's name was picked since he came up with it first. It's not a surprise that Ernst came up with the name Homo stupidus for Neanderthals. At the time, and possibly still now, we didn't know much about Neanderthals. A lot of people thought they were stupid and couldn't draw or use tools. We now know that Neanderthals could draw and use tools, though. They were also good hunters, took care of their sick and old, and may have spoken a language. Many things about Neanderthals were the same as those about humans. Neanderthals inbred a lot. Neanderthals often mated with their own kind. In 2014, a Neanderthal toe bone from 120,000 years ago was found in the Altai Mountains in Siberia. The Neanderthal's genome showed that its parents were very closely related. They might have been related by blood, like brothers or first cousins, or they might have been an uncle and his niece. Another 50,000-year-old Neanderthal skeleton found in Vindija, Croatia, and 13 more found in Sidron, Spain, backed up the idea that they had been breeding with each other. All of the bones showed that the people were linked to each other. Neanderthals had problems when they bred with other Neanderthals, just like modern people do. The bones and body parts of inbred Neanderthals were not made properly. The kneecaps and vertebrae of many of their skeletons were not shaped correctly. At least one Neanderthal kept a baby tooth until they were an adult. Neanderthals were weaker and less likely to have children than early Homo humans because they were breeding with each other. Unfortunately for us, when Neanderthals and early humans bred, they passed on some of these bad genes to us. Even though they have been mostly turned off, the genes are still found in some people today. Some experts think that one reason the Neanderthals died out might have been that they bred with each other too much. They were cannibals. Despite the fact that we do not know whether early Homo sapiens consumed Neanderthals, we do know that Neanderthals consumed Neanderthal bodies. Yes, cannibals were among the Neanderthals. Following an examination of the skeletal remains of 5 Neanderthals that were 40,000 years old, the researchers arrived at this result. The bones were fractured in the same manner as the bones of the animals that the Neanderthals hunted may have been broken. Uncertainty persists over the reason why Neanderthals consumed the flesh of other Neanderthals. To begin, Neanderthals, early Homo sapiens, and even modern Homo sapiens do not possess a nutritional profile. It seems obvious that Neanderthals would have preferred to hunt larger and more nutritious species such as horses, bison, reindeer, and mammoths that roamed in the vicinity. Researchers have hypothesized that Neanderthals consumed the marrow of other Neanderthals in order to obtain their own nutrients. Considering that the bones displayed indications of having been shattered on purpose in order to access the nutrient-rich marrow that was contained within them, this could be the case. Researchers are also of the opinion that the Neanderthals may have turned to cannibalism for cultural reasons, or that they just enjoyed eating neighboring Neanderthals who wandered into their region. There are 2 possible explanations for this behavior. They were hunted by other animals. It's likely that Neanderthals spent a lot of their time trying not to get eaten. They were killed by wild animals of the time, as well as by other Neanderthals and maybe even humans. After looking at some Neanderthal fossils, researchers came to this opinion. They found bite marks on the fossils that were consistent with big meat-eating animals. A young Neanderthal child's fossilized bone made it clear that he had been eaten by a big cat. The bone of another Neanderthal child found in Poland's Kiemna cave showed that he had been eaten by a big bird. The holes in the bone from 115,000 years ago show that it had been through a bird's digestive system. But experts couldn't say for sure if the bird killed the child or just ate its body. It's not a big surprise that Neanderthals were sometimes found in the bellies of other animals. These animals and Neanderthals lived very close to each other. Since they were all trying to get food from the same places and hide in the same caves, fights were likely to happen often. They buried their dead. In 1908, two archaeologists discovered the remains of a Neanderthal that were 50,000 years old. The cave was located in La Chapelle-aux-Saints, which is considered to be in France. At the time, nobody believed the anthropologists when they claimed that the Neanderthal had been purposefully buried there. However, they continued to insist on their claim. 1999 was the year that archaeologists went back to the site. In 2012, a group of researchers from New York University, led by William Rendu, established beyond a reasonable doubt that the Neanderthal was in fact buried at that location. Since then, we have discovered over 20 other sites dispersed over Europe that contain the remains of Neanderthals that were buried underneath the ground. In order to avoid the body from being consumed by scavengers, the burials were frequently performed in a hurry. The fact that burials were found among Neanderthals lends credence to the claim that Neanderthals gave medical attention to their ailing and elderly members of the population. The Neanderthal that was discovered in the cave in France had bone deformations and had misplaced a significant number of teeth. Given their lack of concern for the deceased, it is highly improbable that Neanderthals would have gone to the trouble of burying them. We don't know why they went extinct. We have no idea why the Neanderthals died out. We've already said that inbreeding and killing by Homo sapiens could be reasons, but they are only ideas. Other experts think that Neanderthals died out because early humans brought deadly diseases to them when they came to Europe. Some experts believe it was because Neanderthals weren't able to keep up with humans' faster reproduction rate. A newer idea says that there were two ice ages. A 100-year ice age began about 44,000 years ago. After this, there was another ice age that lasted from 40,800 years ago to 600 years later. During both ice ages, weather in Europe got below zero. The plants died, leaving the big game that the Neanderthals hunted hungry. The Neanderthals soon died out because they relied on big game for food after the big animals did. Homo sapiens from the Stone Age lived through the ice ages because they were already used to eating veggies, meat, and fish of all kinds. Some experts think that only a few Neanderthals lived through the first ice age. During the second ice age, any Neanderthals that were still alive lived with humans. They bred with each other, and soon their genes were mixed with human genes. We hope you liked this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're a history addict. And please let us know about what civilization or time period we should talk about. Also, watch another video here.